Hey guys, Kev here, and I wanted to do my review of the Quiet Carry Waypoint. This is a sweet knife. It came out this year, and I've had this one for about a month now, I think. Maybe a couple weeks to a month. But I have had some experience with this knife in the past. Actually, when this knife first came out, it was the beginning of the year or early in the year at some point, and I saw Slicey Dicey's review on it. Got me pretty interested, and I went and took a look on the website, and I wanted to snag one, and they were available at the time. But the price of this knife is $295. So when I got to the website, I just kind of drooled over it and kind of moved on, because at the time I wasn't really comfortable spending $300 on a knife. My tastes have changed a bit since then, and I've done a lot of selling, collecting, trading of knives this year, and my tastes have really grown. And now, I went ahead and just ordered this when it came back out, and I had no problem doing that. But again, when it first came out at the time, I was kind of very intrigued, but I didn't pull the trigger because of the price. And then I would see on Instagram, everybody posting about it. All these reviews came out. And in particular, Jake from Bearded Gear, he would post that knife, his version or his Waypoint. He would post it all the time in different types of water. He'd throw it into a drinking fountain. He'd throw it into the ocean. He'd drop it in a puddle. Whatever. He did all types of stuff, and I would see every one of his pictures. And it got to a point where I was commenting like, "Dude, stop rubbing it in. You have one." Nobody can get one because they sold out, and then they didn't come back until I guess it was November when they came back. So I just wanted to kind of tell you that story because it was kind of funny. And eventually I did get to check out Jake's Waypoint. He sent it along to me to check out, along with his Ace Grand, which I mentioned in my first impressions of that knife yesterday. And he sent me his ProTech Malibu to check out. And I mentioned I now have all three of those. So we saw the Grand yesterday, and then I have the Malibu and the Waypoint here, just so you can kind of get a size comparison. They are almost identical in size. Now the Waypoint is definitely thinner. Let's see if I can turn these the right way. There you go. It's definitely a thinner knife than the Malibu. They're different knives. They kind of have their own purposes. The Malibu to me is more of a fidgety toy with a nice blade. It's a very good EDC for me personally, because I can fidget with it a lot. The Waypoint, on the other hand, is more of a work knife. It's a very good EDC knife to have around, especially if you're going to be going out, on a rainy day, or you're going to work somewhere near water, or you live in a place where, you can have corrosion issues on your blades. This is a fantastic knife. It does kind of have a slow close, so it does not drop shut. So that's one of the big flaws for me on this knife. Is that its action isn't drop shutty. It really does fly out of there with the thumb stud. I like to deploy this with the middle finger a lot, but you kind of have to just close it with two hands, or slowly close it like this. It's kind of like, reminds me of a Sebenza a lot. I had a Sebenza 31, a left-handed version, and I sold that like a month ago or so. And that was because I got the Waypoint. And this is such a similar knife to me. The blade shape, the shape of the entire knife. It's a very Sebenza-esque knife and blade, even down to the hollow grind on the blade. But in my opinion, Quiet Carry did it better. Now, this is a thinner knife, so it is different in some ways, but it comes with a deep carry wire clip. It comes with premium, super premium steel. This is Vanax Super Clean, which ironically is impossible to keep super clean. I have my Shadowborn Hank here. Shout out to Shadowborn Hanks. Gonna use this to keep this satin blade clean for you guys, because it is a fingerprint magnet. And I tend to have sweaty hands, so it's not a great combination. I do have the satin blade with the bead blast handle. That's the version I went for. I really like the combination there. I'm starting to think I should have got a stonewashed blade, but as you may have heard me say in the past couple of videos, I'm really kind of getting used to stonewashed blades. I'm starting to prefer them because of the fingerprints. I mean, if you look at this on the Malibu, it's stonewashed and it's so good. You don't get fingerprints all over it, and it still looks really nice. So I'm coming around to stonewash. When I have the option, I'll probably start snagging stonewash blades, but this is just pretty though with the satin. So, you know, I can see it both ways. But so the Waypoint here, you do have a titanium. You have titanium handles. Like I said, it's bead blast. You have marine grade titanium hardware. The entire knife is rust proof. So the blade, as I mentioned, is Vanax Super Clean titanium handles. Both are rust proof. The liner is made out of LC200N steel, which is a very good steel in itself. You'll probably know it from the Spidey Chef. That's the blade steel on the Spyderco Spidey Chef, which is also a rust-proof knife. So all around, you can, this has been tested by a lot of people, so I'm not going to put my knife through it. But it's been left in salt baths, it's been left in water, it's been dunked in all types of things and closed up, put in pocket and checked weeks later, and it takes it all. It's rust proof. It cleans right up. So that is the best aspect of this knife here. Looking at the blade, you have what I believe is 3 1/4 inches, 3.3 maybe, Vanax Super Clean. You have a very nice hollow grind that goes about 3/4 of the way down the blade and all the way out here to the tip, which is, it looks very sleek. It's very nice. Has a very pokey tip. It's not as dainty as it looks. I mean, it's not like you could pry with it because it's very thin stock to begin with. I don't know the measurement, but it's at least, I would say, 0.1 millimeters or less. It kind of reminds me of the blade steel on the TRM Neutron that I had. Very thin. It's a super slicey blade. This is probably the sliciest knife I have currently in my collection. The Neutron was close, and the Neutron may be just as good, but that, I believe, had a flat grind. And this hollow grind just, it cuts through paper, cardboard like butter. So that is fantastic. Also with the Vanax, you get very good edge retention. I'm pretty sure, I haven't compared it, and I honestly haven't done a ton of research on it, but from what I can tell, in my experience, this steel probably has edge retention around S35, S45, and possibly up to 20 CV M390 204P territory. It's probably in between those two if I had to guess. So it's very good edge retention. It's obviously completely corrosion resistant. It's tough enough. So it's just a fantastic overall steel. And obviously we've been hearing a lot of that lately. It's going to become more and more popular. You're starting to see it on custom fixed blades like SPK, Alex Steingraber's fixed blades. He's starting to come out with Vanax. I think I saw a post today that he's getting the Vanax in, and I don't know if there's a pre-order or what, but he's gonna start coming out with Vanax Sharks. And what else have I seen this on? Quiet Carry has done it on another model. I believe it's called the Drift, which is a very similar construction. It's just a different shaped knife. And I'm trying to think. I've seen it in other places, but it's becoming more and more popular. And then I'd like to talk about the pocket clip. So it is a deep carry wire clip, which is reversible. You'll see I've done that. Very simple clip. They made it thin enough to where sometimes with the loop over clips, they can cause a hot spot, but they kept it thin enough that you don't have that issue. So in terms of ergonomics, this knife fits very well in hand. You'll see I can get a full 4-finger grip on it. My index finger drops right into this spot where they want you to, and then my other 3 will drop on. The clip is not a hot spot. I can feel it there, but it is not a hot spot. Would I love to have a forward finger choil? Yes, I absolutely would, because then I could slide each finger up one and drop my index finger into the choil and have much more control for precision cutting. So that would be very nice, especially with a blade this length. You know, maybe if it were 3 inches, then obviously you don't really need the choil, but at 3 1/4 to 3.3, I think a choil would have been very nice for this knife. Let me think of what else I want to go over. I talked about the action, so it is very snappy coming out. With the thumb studs, you can see here, it's got very good detent, pops right in. See if you can get a better view of that, see where it drops in. You can hear it click. Middle finger flick is very good for a lefty. And that kind of leads me to the lefty perspective on this knife. You can middle finger flick it very well because of the access to the thumb stud. You see the cutout here on the right hand side. On the left hand side, you don't get as much. You don't get as much access in here to get your thumb behind. So what that means is, as a lefty, for the middle finger, you get a better purchase and you can flick it out like that. But for a thumb stud, you don't have as much action. I don't know how well you can see that. You don't have as much access here. So what happens with a lot of thumb stud knives that are dual thumb stud like this, they don't give the same access on this side. So I will occasionally slip off the thumb stud and not deploy the knife, or I will go, you know, kind of like deploy it halfway because it kind of just flopped a little bit, and then I end up with the knife sticking out a little, which of course I can't copy right now or imitate right now, but it'll kind of end up like this, and then my thumb's sitting like this, and there, you know, I've had a tendency to almost cut myself doing that. So access to the thumb stud is not fantastic for a lefty, but it absolutely works. I'm not gonna call that an issue. It's more of a nitpick. And then Also, as a lefty, this is the biggest issue I have with liner lock knives, at least some of them. You can't necessarily, you don't get as much access to the lock bar either as a lefty. So as a righty, I can just get in there, push it over, and the blade starts coming down. You can even see it almost falls a little bit. But as a lefty, you have to kind of push over, and then you have to use your other finger to pull the blade down. And what happens is, if you're not paying, perfect attention every time, you can cut yourself. And I have done that a few times with this knife, actually. So I'll push over, and then I'll pull this down, and I'll pull it too far or, something, and then my thumb comes up, and it gets hit by the blade, and it'll come down like this. And I've cut myself on the tip of my thumb multiple times. I've done that with this knife, and I've done that with the TRM Neutron a few times. So that's a big negative for me as a lefty, and that is why I prefer a knife to have more of a drop shut shake action, because I can flick it open, I can start the close, so I can get it to here, break the detent, and then kind of shake it down. And I don't have to worry about pulling it down farther and my thumb getting in the way and doing all these maneuvers. If I could just shake it, which this one you can, but it's just, it's awkward. It's starting to break in a little, so that's good. So maybe over time that'll get a little better, but that's my biggest issue with this knife. And it's hard to fault the knife for that, or Quiet Carry for that, because it's such a thin, light blade that it's not gonna drop shut. And this is made to work and work well and be rust proof and do all of those things. So it's not made as a fidget toy, and so I can't fault them for it. But me personally, as a guy who loves to fidget with my knives, it's a negative. So the value on this knife, again, I talked about it earlier, it's $295 if you can find it. I think they're sold out again, but they pop up on the secondary occasionally now. So you should be able to find one if you really want to patrol knife swap or blade forums. I do think that $295 is absolutely a good price for this knife. So I told you earlier I had a Sebenza 31 small in the lefty configuration. Now that is a titanium frame lock knife with S35 VN, and that was $375. So this is a titanium LC200N liner lock with Vanax Super Clean. In my opinion, this is a much, much superior steel to S35 VN. And we can get into the whole heat treat argument on how Chris Reeves heat treats their blades versus another company, but I'm just going to say Vanax Super Clean is a much superior steel to S35 VN. You have a similar construction. It's even a little thinner. It's lighter. It has a deep carry clip that it comes with. I had to buy one from Casey Lynch. Shout out to Lynch Northwest for my Sebenza, which was another $80 or $90 investment. So that puts that Sebenza up in the $450, $460 territory. So $295 for this knife is absolutely appropriate. I do understand that it's made overseas, but if you get one of these in hand, you'll see the quality is there. It is on par with something like a Sebenza. I will admit that Sebenzas have fantastic machining. The kinds of things that go into a Sebenza will cost a little bit more than this would, and it's made in America. So I understand the pricing on a Sebenza, and I actually completely am fine with the pricing on a Sebenza. But I'm just saying, if you look at that as a comparison, $295 for this knife is 100% reasonable. So those are my thoughts on the Quiet Carry Waypoint here. It's a fantastic little EDC knife. You can carry it in your back pocket as a secondary. You can carry it in your front pocket as a primary knife. It'll get any job done you need during your everyday tasks. And it's just a cool knife because it has Vanax and it's rust proof. So you could kind of do anything you want with this knife and not have to worry about it. So I totally recommend this to both lefties and righties. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Stay sharp.